nations that are able to implement policy measures that support non-oil export growth are likely to make progress in generating multiple streams of foreign exchange earnings. More importantly, by providing a nation with multiple streams of income, greater non-oil exports can help in moderating the volatility that occurs when a nation is primarily dependent on one particular resource for most of its export earnings. And I give you some examples. Chile, with a population of 18 million people, exports 2,800 distinct products, relative to Nigeria, which exports close to 800 products. In case of Nigeria, 90% of its export earnings are primarily dependent on a single source, crude oil, whereas Chile has a more diversified export base with no single product supporting more than 21% of its export earnings. In 2017, Chile was able to fetch over $88 billion from export of its products, whereas Nigeria, with 200 million population, earned $55 billion in the same year. It is therefore no surprise that policymakers continue to emphasize that in order for our nation to grow at high single digits or double digits, supporting domestic production and expanding our non-oil export base is no doubt critical. We would admit that there are other constraints to the growth of the agricultural and manufacturing sectors, such as logistics and electricity challenge. However, I am indeed glad that the government is working on addressing these constraints with the rollout of new rail infrastructure and the reconstruction of major arteries such as Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Abuja-Kano Highway, and the Second Niger Bridge, and a range of others that will eventually be unfolded. This would help in no way in reducing the cost of transporting goods and raw materials across various parts of the country. Our analysis on the constraints to growth is what has influenced the policy priorities of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the creation of our intervention programs, such as the Anchor Borrowers Program, the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme. While monetary policy may not be able to solve all structural challenges, but by influencing financial conditions under which farmers, like our small and medium enterprises and manufacturers, are able to access credit, we can help to support growth in the agriculture and manufacturing sectors, as well as our non-oil exports. These measures can provide meaningful support to the efforts of the government, which are aimed at promoting more sustainable growth of our economy. It will also ensure that our economy is less susceptible to changes in oil price. I recognize that some of our policies have been construed as protectionist in nature, and I agree that they have indeed been protectionist. But we need to keep in mind that leaders are first and foremost accountable to their own citizens and their nation. And if the vagaries of international trade threatens the comfort of these citizens, leaders are compelled to react by inducing changes in the flow of goods and services in order to improve the lot of its own people and in attaining nationwide growth objectives. One recent example that comes to my mind is the issue of onion prices in India. As you may know, Indian farmers export about 2.2 billion kilograms of onions per annum, which is worth over $500 million every year. Due to excessive unseasonal rains in India this year, production was significantly low, and so local prices increased to a 6-year high. This surge in prices of onion hit Indian households adversely, given that onion is a staple of Indian cookery. It also led to significant pressure on inflation in that country. So what did Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government do? Last month, the government insisted and banned the export of onions from India until further notice, with the immediate result being more onions for local consumers at rapidly decelerating prices, putting a dent to headline inflation. Although protectionist in nature, this is what a great leader, and this is what indeed great leaders do to improve the lives of their people, because the country and its people must always come first. Although this ban has meant higher onion prices for India's neighbors, the government could care less because it is a win-win situation for its own citizens. Another recent example is the decision of the London City authorities just earlier this week not to renew the operating license of Uber in London, regardless of the reasons they may have adduced for this decision. The effect is that it is a boom for local taxi drivers in London City. This is a step meant to keep jobs in the hands of indigenous British drivers. This is what great leaders must do to help its people. Let us also not forget that the European Union's Common Agricultural Policy continues to impose substantial tariff rates on many agricultural products, with the main aim being to discourage imports and increase prices for domestic European farmers in order to increase their income. I have given these two examples for us to know that no leader and no country sees its own citizens suffer. No responsible leader would allow the level of unemployment and insecurity to rise in his country. Industries dead, and we all know what I mean industries dead, and allow inflation, prices, and allow smugglers and those who are bent on dumping goods into their country in order to increase the level of unemployment, increase youth restiveness, kill its industries. No great leader sits idle. And that is the reason the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, even at its meeting held this week, came out very, very strongly to say that the Monetary Policy Authority supports Nigeria government's border protection. And I think any right-meaning Nigerian, anybody who wishes that the level of unemployment in Nigeria must reduce, any right-meaning leader who means well for his country or for Nigeria today, who wishes to see our industries grow, you do not have a choice but to support the decision of the Nigerian government to protect its borders.